Welcome once again to day 12 of the ERP Cloud Bootcamp course. This is the review session, and today we're looking at the technical design. We're continuing the technical design today, and today we are moving swiftly into the area of the integration. And we are looking at extending the setups from that point of view. Today, we're going to be looking at some of the objects that you will normally use when you're performing things like integrations, your inbound and outbound interfaces to various systems. And those are the core things that we'll look at today. So we'll look at the theory behind it, and I'll take you through some examples. And there's quite a bit that we need to go through today, so we'll move swiftly. So in the integration, we'll be looking at the inbound and outbound data, looking at how that's done, looking at the APIs as well for bulk loading data, and also you've got file loaders, mainly for the inbound and outbound interfaces. And also you've got real-time loaders as well. So let's have a look at the integrations architecture in terms of the core areas. So you have the ERP Cloud in the core. In the middle here, you have three main types of integration areas. One is your pre-packaged solutions. So if you bring in data into ERP Cloud from Accounting Hub or other modules like your revenue management service, you've got a distributed orchestration as well. So there's a few pre-packaged integrations that you have, and then you've also got your pre-built integrations as well. For example, you have a CPQ configure quote to cash area. You got planning and budgeting EPM area. So these are pre-built integrations. And then you have native integration. These are things that are in between the applications themselves. And these include things like your employees, the users' details that are shared with employee security, geography. You have integration between modules where data is shared, and that ensures the flow from one part of the application to another. So you've got all of these areas within the integration space. And then you have the integration services. And these are mainly setup services, which are used mainly for your inbound, outbound, and transactional services. So we'll be talking a lot more about this space in this middle here today. And then you have the integration platform, which is where you've got your PaaS, platform as a service, where you have your integration with external applications, and you can build your own applications using this integration platform. So these are the three main areas where you have your integration with ERP Cloud. So today we'll be focusing more on the integration services, which includes the setup services and also the inbound, outbound services and some of the transactional services. So core agenda, we'll be looking at bulk data. I'll be taking you through the file-based data loader. There are some videos on the HCM loader, and also I'll show you some of the other capability within the bulk loading of data. So you have two sides. You have the inbound data coming in. So when you're doing your data migration, you'll be using some of these loaders that we'll be talking about today for most of those standing data type load. And then you have extracting data out also for integration point of view. And most of that will be using BI Publisher. We'll be looking at BI Publisher later in the week. And then you have real-time data inbound. So data coming in inbound could be from REST APIs, and REST and other APIs as well. So that can come inbound. I'll show you an example of how that works as well today. And then you have the outbound. Again, this uses business events for data going out to other services. So that's the core of what you have within the agenda for today from an integration perspective. So let's start by looking at the bulk data load using the file-based data import, which is also called the FBDI loader. And I'm going to use an example of loading data for supply data. So I'm just going to use that as an example today. And I'll take you through the documentation and how to run through this process. So initially, you have to download the templates. Oracle has provided a lot of Excel-based CSV generation type templates that will allow us to be able to build this data, the data that we can use to upload into Oracle. So first, let's go into the system, and well, let me start from docs.oracle.com and show you where you can get that data from to start with. So let me just go into docs.oracle.com. So in docs.oracle.com, which is where I am, go to the specific area. So I'm going to select financials. Now, actually, let me go back one step. The data for suppliers is actually in procurement. Procurement actually owns supplier data from a migration perspective. So you can see procurement on the ERP and also on the SCM. So I'm going to go to the ERP aspect of the data and for procurement, and then I'm going to go into all books. I can actually go into APIs and schema, but if you go to all books, we'll come back to APIs and schema in a minute. And let's just select the implementation. It brings us to an area called file-based data import, FBDI for procurement. So if we click on the HTML, you can see all the areas where you can load data into Oracle using this file-based data import. And you have the supplier model. So that's all the different files that you can use to load your supply data. So I'm going to select one of them, which is import suppliers. And you can see that it's giving you some information. This information that you have here is very important because what Oracle does is that Oracle uses a middleware layer, which is actually called UCM, Universal Content Manager. And what you will do is load the data in a specific format into this middleware, and then you run a program to load the data, and then it runs some API, some programs, and then it will create the objects. So that's basically what happens. So it's a few stages to get to that point. And the first thing you will do is that you will download this Excel file, and each of these have their own Excel files that are for each different object. So I'm going to select supplier import template. That would download the Excel file. Now, it doesn't work on the Mac, and I'll tell you why, because there is a, back here, there is actually, let me just go into, I mean, this is an example, but let me just open my downloads. Let's just download the file that I just downloaded now. Where has it gone? Downloads. No, that's not where it is. And that's because it doesn't work on the Mac because it's got some macros. And so that's the template. So I'm just going to select this template. So you click on enable content. I would always advise that you get the latest template from the docs.oracle.com. And that's for various reasons. Oracle sometimes change the way the program works. and you don't want to be caught out. Now, what you have on the first page is the instructions, very similar to your rapid implementation spreadsheets in terms of how it works. You fill in some data, you press generate CSV, and then it generates the file, and then you can then load the file in. So the first thing is that you download the file, and then you put in some data. So this is the data. I am going to create some data. Now, your batch ID needs to be unique. So I'm just going to call this YO demo _ 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 as an example. So that's going to enable me to know my batch. Let me just, that's about 20, so 20 records. And my action here is I want to actually create. So rather than update, you can also use this to update your data. So supplier name, I'm going to go into my favorite tool to get some supplier names. Let's go to Mockaroo. And I'm going to just get some company name, and I'm going to, so there is data objects. So that's, and I'm going to just generate 20 of these data objects. And I want this in Excel format. So let's just download this data. So it's downloaded my data. So let's go back to my downloads. It's my downloads. So that's my mock data that's been generated. So I'm just going to use this as the names of my companies. So I've got some company names that I'm going to use. Okay. I'm just going to delete that one. So supplier name, supplier number, system will generate that. Now, at the top of each of these, you will find the column details. So when you're having these sessions with the business, you'll have to go through each of these column details, and they will tell you the names of the supplier, and also what each of this area means is basically what you'd have with your data migration workshops. So I'm just going to create suppliers. I'm going to make them spend authorized. So that means I'm creating these suppliers as full-blown suppliers. Get this there. And then other details, let me delete this DUNS number. It's not necessary. I may need to have a tax ID if it's the US. So I should have generated some random tax IDs as well. So let me just make up some numbers. I'm not sure what those numbers will be, but let me just making up the numbers. So I've got some random numbers there for the tax ID. I think that's the minimum that I need. And then if there's any other information, attributes are the DFFs that we talked about yesterday. But again, we're just looking at the flow of what needs to happen. So once you've created this file, what you then need to do is then generate the CSV. that will create a CSV file. Rapid start suppliers. Let me put this in this place. I'm just going to call this 23. So that's my CSV file. So that file is actually a CSV file zipped together. So, so you download the template and import the template. That download the file, import and prepare the data file, which is what we've just done. And then we want to load the file into our UCM. Now you could actually run the load data interface, but I'm just going to show you the proper steps. But there are faster ways of doing this. So let me just go into my environment. And I'm just going to load the data. Loading again. Used it earlier on this afternoon. It was a lot quicker. Slowing down again. Okay. I might have to. Okay, upload the file into UCM. Next step is to load the file to the interface table. And then if there are any errors, what then will happen is that the errors will be fixed. And then you can purge the interface table. And then you can correct the data and re-upload. So you can do this on a continuous basis. So let's see if this will actually, so let me go into tools, scheduled process. Now, the process that you need to run, you'll actually find them in the Excel spreadsheet as well. So this spreadsheet will tell you loading the data, recommendations for loading the data. Actually, I think they've removed those steps. But again, they used to tell you the steps. But again, if you look in the in here, it tells you where you need to load it to in UCM. So I'm gonna go in here. Again. Let's go back in, see if tools, scheduled processes. Right. So I'm going to go straight into load interface file. Load interface file for import. And my import process is my supplier. So let's search. Supplier. You should be able to see all the supplier. Import suppliers, that's the one that we want. And then the file, upload a new file. So the file that we want to upload is the file that we've just downloaded and created from our, which is this file here. Yes. So let's upload this file. Submit. So all this is doing is just putting the file into the, well, not just from the content area, but was also loading into the interface table. If there's any errors, then we need to load it back in again. If there's no errors, what would happen? We can then import the data using the import job. And then what then happens after that, if there's any errors again, you have to load it back in again. And then if it's successfully loaded, then the data will be successfully loaded into the product table. So that's basically the two steps. The first step is just load interface file. Next step is you import the data. So you load and then you import. There are error checks in each of the stages. So let's go back and refresh this and see what we have. So that's completed, it's succeeded. So what I'm going to do now is you can check the data file. That's a CSV file that we've loaded. If there's anything in the log file, you can check that as well. So log file hasn't come up with anything. So to a lot of people, it's just a bunch of text. And if there's any errors in the load, then you may have to look at this and then use this to find out where if there's any errors. So that's your error log in there. So next, what we want to do now is to now import that data. So here I'm going to run my import data. Import. Load, okay, so all the different import programs. Import supplier. So here we're importing suppliers. And then it will ask us for the exact data that we want to import. So I can say new, if there's any exceptions, and then the batch ID. So this batch ID is the batch ID that we have here. So it's always good. Otherwise, you'll be loading other people's data as well, and you don't want to do that. So I'm just going to put in this batch ID. Submit. So what this does is that it will kick off a program, and this program will start to import, and then it will create suppliers based upon the supplier records. We should be able to identify some of these suppliers as the new suppliers that have been created. So let's refresh and see what's happened. Running. So if I go to procurement, under suppliers, I should be able to see those suppliers that have been created. There we go. These are the suppliers. Browseberg, browse, yeah. Javasphere. So all the suppliers are now created. Star Bank. Oh, this was created manually. These are all the suppliers. It's probably still creating, but these are the suppliers. The next step would be, they're incomplete at the moment, so you'd have to go in and then create the next step, which is the supplier address, supplier site, and so on. So in here, you've got all the different objects that needs to be loaded. There is a specific order in which they needs to be loaded as well. So you can always look at the help, and this will show you a lot of the details in terms of what needs to be loaded first and so on. So it tells you the order, supplier address. So this is the supplier sites, assignments. So this is the order in which you load the data for supplier records. But the process is the same, but the order and the objects, you can get them from where we just looked at. So that's one type of data. Now, I did mention about bulk loading data. So let's have another look at other data that you can load. There is financial data that you can load as well, which is financial extracts, very similar to your but there's a OTBI, but you can use this mainly for loading data for external use. And these are seeded data. So you generate a data file for export job, and you can run this. And also there are videos to see how to run that. You execute the extract using the respective BI publisher. So you run a job to generate the extract. So normally you will use this if you have a requirement for things like maybe a tax authority needs you to send data to them on a regular basis. So then you use this kind of extract to extract financial data, and then you build reports API to then push the data out to those services. Or data can also be uploaded into UCM, just like we did. And also, you can also download data from UCM using web services. There are other methods. I'm going to go through one of them, which is the REST API. REST APIs are used a lot these days. And you've also got the ADFdi, which are within the applications that you can use to load data in. Actually, let me show you ADFdi first, and then I'll show you the REST APIs. So with ADFdi, let's use this for the journals. So, and this is within the applications, not like where you have FBDI bringing data in. So when I say within the application, you're inside the application. You could have a loader, an Excel spreadsheet loader that would say that you use Excel, use a spreadsheet, for example. So if I go to journals and I want to load journals, let's say for my opening balances, and it says create journal in spreadsheet, or if you have a journal that has a lot of lines, then you can use this functionality. It requires you to download the ADF plugin. And again, that there are, I mean, in one of the labs, I'll to show you where to get that details from. So let's look at the journal. Back to my downloads. This is the download entry. And then it will ask you to connect. So you can So that's the connection. And it's asking me to install the new version. I'm just going to skip this version, go to the one that I have on the system. Normally I should upgrade that, but it's probably going to take me a while. So you can create a single journal, or you can create multiple journals. So you've got this option, and you can also insert rows. So if you go to your view, actually review and unprotect spreadsheet, you can add a lot of rows. Just insert, and then what you would normally do is prepare a journal upload. I'll just say some kind of input file. So here is one I created earlier. So this is just raw data. So this could be from your source system. You may need to do some kind of transformation of maybe your account and so on. So what I've just done, I've just taken my accounts. So this is just all my accounts that I've loaded in. I've taken the description, put that in the description, and then generated my account, company, line of business, account segment, cost center, to come down. I've just created some random numbers, and I've just checked my debits and credit. So this is just an example. So I'm going to just load data for January 23, and then I'm just going to load this into that spreadsheet. So batch, just so that's right click, copy, and right click, paste special as text. So that's all my data that I'm going to migrate across from my legacy system into Oracle. So I don't need all these bits at the bottom here. So I'm just going to delete all of this. Let's delete these rows. That's my data. So what I'm going to do now is just from Excel, create journal, submit. So it takes all that data, puts it into the interface table. And then from here, you can submit the journal, import the journal, and post the journal. You've got other things like your import DFFs, other options, and so on. So I'm just going to submit. And that's just pulling all that data from Excel directly into Oracle. Now, there are some limitations with ADFdi. If you have more than 5,000 lines, then it could struggle. So watch out for that. If you have a requirement to load a lot of lines, then it's recommended to use FBDI rather than your ADFdi. So this journal has now been loaded into Oracle. So let's go in and check the data. So I'm just going to go into my manage journals, January 23, and let's search. So that's my journal. Let's have a look. So that's my journal imported. Let's go back to, so that's my journal. My first one 2 lines, 98307, 98307, 202855. There you go. So that's my journal that I've imported using my spreadsheet. So again, this is another way of loading data into this system. The other one I was going to show you is the REST APIs. Now, these are mainly used for integrations. It can be real-time integration. You can also use it to load bulk data. And this is usually if you're building applications from an external applications that wants to interface with Oracle, then you would normally use REST APIs to bring the data in. Oracle are building a lot of these APIs. And as far as I know, that's the future direction for a lot of this integration on a real-time basis. So let me just take you into the, I'll just show you the documentation, just to see where you're going to get the REST API information from. So again, all these are coming in from the, they're all coming in from the website. Actually, it's interesting that Oracle are now calling Oracle Fusion Cloud Applications. Okay, that's very interesting, going back to Fusion rather than, yeah. So let's go to financials, and I'm going to go into APIs and schema. So these are the APIs. Schemas here is the table structure. So we're going to be looking at that when we look at reports later on in the week. So REST APIs for cloud, and you have some information about, so those of you who are technical, you understand what REST points are, get, post methods. So within your code, you would need to embed this in here, and Oracle is giving guidance as to how to do that. And you've got a quick start guide. If you're technical, you can go through this, look at how the client will be configured to enable that. And I'm going to use an application called Postman just to demonstrate how this would work. But again, you've got some example of the payloads and how all this works. So if you're technical, have a read through this documentation. If you're not, don't worry too much about it. Just need to know that it's possible to do this. So what I'm going to use is the invoice. I'm going to use invoice creation, payables, invoices. Yeah, so this is invoices. So we're saying that I want to, if I've got an external application and I want to create an invoice from that application, is using a method called post, and I just want to look at this path. So this is what's going to be called by the external application to execute a post method, which will allow the data to be created within Oracle. So let me just show you an example. So as I mentioned, I've got Postman window. So this is my application called Postman. You can download this from the web. There's also a web-based version as well. Now, what I've got here is to create. So first of all, you need to put in your username and password. There are some settings for the headings. Key thing to note is that is a content type, and then everything else is pretty standard. So what you're creating is a JSON file, JSON, and what tends to happen is that your application that you have will generate this file as an output. So this is kind of like the output result. So here we're saying that we want to create an invoice, invoice number, let me just make it 2103 23 dash 1740 1740. That's my invoice number. Invoice currency. So all of these variables that you see here, these ones would also be in my invoice. So in my payload description. So in my request description, so that's the supported media type. So these are all the different variables that you can use. So it's quite a bit to use there for the request, and then you get a response back. This is all what you get in your response. Sometimes they do give you an example. Yeah, there's an example of a request payload that they've put here. So this is what the program will generate, and then you should be able to use this to. So what I've done is I've just created an example of this business unit, supplier, and so on. This could be from maybe a web application that generates an invoice. A requester, I'm just going to create this. I'm just going to make this, let's say, 2000. So that's my invoice amount. This is my line amount. And then I've got my distribution amount, 2000 as well. This is my distribution combination. That's the combination on the distribution. Line type item and so on. So that's my minimum JSON file. So I'm just going to send this. So you can see the method is post. So we are looking at a post method to create our invoice. Post. And the URL that you have here at the end here is identifying the endpoint. So that's the URL at the end here as well. So that's the standard URL of the Oracle site, and what you got at the end here is the endpoint URL. So once you've got all that details, you just click on send, and that will send a request to the server, to the Oracle server, and this will create an invoice with these details. Okay, yeah, it's created. So let's go into Oracle. So let's go to payables, invoices, and let's go here. Let's go to. So that's the invoice 1740. 1740 210323 1740 for 200. So that's my invoice created. Is even put the value set of mine in my requester. That's the details. That's my invoice created, my distribution in here. It's not validated, but at the moment it's just created. Yeah, my distribution. So that basically shows you how to use a REST API. So this is a REST API being called from an external application called Postman to generate an invoice. It's actually quicker than actually going in and typing an invoice within Oracle. So, and this can be done real time. I've got another one here for AR invoices. 2021. Let's make this one. Pinnacle Technologies, ship to site, selling price. Let's make that 3,000. Item. So line number 1, quantity 1. Okay, I'm creating 2 lines. Yeah, line number 2, quantity 1. So I'm just creating 2 lines. Total there is 5,000. Similar kind of concept. Receivables, invoices for the endpoint, and send. Again, it's going to use the REST APIs for receivables. So just my receivables, invoices. So create receivables invoices. So it's creating using this receivables invoice REST API. Let's go back to so that's created. I'm going to go into receivables and view that. This way. So you can use these methods. You've got an external application that wants to interface with Oracle, and you can use this to interface directly into Oracle. Transaction date equals today. Let's do a search. There we go. So that's it's even calculated the tax as well. That should be an invoice for 2 lines. There you go, 3,000, 2,000, Pinnacle Technologies. And that's using REST APIs. So in conclusion, the key thing is that you've got all these different methods that you can use to load data in. There's another one called the HCM Data Loader. I've got some videos on that as well that shows you how to load data in using HCM. Slightly different method, but you download and install the HDL, the desktop integrator, set up your source system owner, prepare the data file, load the file, you then send pending LDAP result request and view the employee details. Again, you can use this to load data. Again, they've got videos on this as well. Right, because of time, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Any questions? Yes, Bella, yeah. Got your hands raised there.
Thanks. So if we're using REST APIs to import data, does it goes directly to the table or first to the interface?
Yeah, it creates it directly using the, I mean, in terms of how REST APIs work within them, I don't know the details of the coding behind it, but I just know that an API, there's a handshake between the external application and Oracle. Mm-hmm. So it's creating the data object directly from that handshake. Yeah, from that handshake. So it just takes a parameter, runs, maybe it's a Java query, sorry, Java create, and then to create that data. It can also pull data back in from an external source in the same way.
Yeah, because I saw when you executed the post from Postman, right? Yeah. You were able to just go directly to check the invoice, and it was created.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it just posted directly to the main table.
Yeah, it posts directly into the database, but it can also use it to retrieve data as well.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dairo, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Yemi. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, yeah.
Yeah, so how did you get to the part, on the REST API now?
Mhm.
How did you get to the part? That's one. Then number two, what do you call the platform that you are using to connect to, as in the platform you're using for the REST API?
Okay, it's called Postman. So
Okay, Postman, okay.
Postman, and then the path.
Yes.
This is the path here. So you have your standard URL, the
Okay.
Oracle one, and then the end point here, which is where it's going to is posting this into this endpoint, is from the Oracle docs. So in the Oracle documentation, Oracle tells you REST APIs for Fusion Financial Fusion Cloud, and then you're able to see what this endpoint is. That's how you get it. Yeah, so that's the
Okay. Are you going to copy these and paste there?
Yeah.
That's exactly what I want
Yeah,
to know.
you copy
this.
it and paste it into
Okay.
paste it into Postman. Yeah.
Sorry, show me the Postman again.
This is Postman. Yeah, so you paste it.
Where will you paste it here? You just paste it here?
Yeah, just here. Yeah, just here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
to the end of your URL.
Then the query down here.
Yeah.
Do you write this yourself, or you have
yes.
a kind of?
Yeah. I wrote this myself. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
there's are they not generic code where you can just edit or something?
I can make this. I think I've made this available. So this is in your labs if you want to use this. Yeah. So this is there. So if you go into today's session details, sample documents, I have some JSON files here, and that will give you some example. The invoice one, I've got some various ones here that you can use here. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. And
So
I've got some other data, supplier data, customer data, journals, supply invoice. So you use.
So the Postman, you can just get to download it online and.
Yeah, just download that on the internet. Yeah. So if you go to, you just search for Postman. There's a number of tools that do the same thing, but I've just always used Postman. Yeah. So this is so it's a development-based tool. Yeah. There's an API, so you can download. You can even use it from here directly.
Okay.
For free, you can use it directly from this website. I think there's a free version. Yeah, free. This is the one.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Right. Yomi.
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to point out that API is very crucial because I'm working in integrations right now.
Okay.
And whenever your interface goes down, you're like on an island. So if you can take the time out to go to YouTube and learn about API and how they work and communicate, you'll also help to understand the business flow.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, it's mainly the technical side of things, especially if you're looking at the Oracle OIC integration cloud. So there's another side of this. Actually, I do have something on that. But again, it depends on people's interest in the integration platform. That this kind of shows how things, this external integration platform. So it shows you all the different integration areas, and it's going to be increasingly big. You have automation. I'm sure most of you have heard of Chat GPT and other automation happening. So a lot of them are happening via integration. And there's a lot of other areas, machine learning, AI, visualizations, reporting. So it's a lot of stuff going on right now, and there are integrations with other things like Twitter, Facebook, other things like Ariba, SQL. So these are all other different areas that you can kind of integrate with using all these connectors. Yeah. So it's a lot of them. And in terms of the integration landscape, so as far as Oracle is concerned, you have your inbound and outbound interfaces. You've got your data load, you've got service APIs, you've got data extract. So this is basically where we are. And Oracle then uses this using different kind of interfaces to link to different services. And some of them you can use PaaS, platform as a service, to write your own codes as well. Mobile services, digital assistants, blockchain, and then you have Oracle SaaS link using APIs. You've got IoTs. I mean, if you're into supply chain, then there's a lot of APIs being used in the orchestration service to pull data in and out and link back to supplier availability and so on. So it's really a huge area in the Oracle Integration Cloud. Right. Any other questions? Question here: are there any tools to review data in staging tables before loading to production? Toad for Fusion. Good question. We'll be looking at that tomorrow. I believe it's tomorrow when we're going to be looking at, or later on in the week, reporting, and then I'll show you how to run those queries and interrogate the table. There are a number of tools out there that people are building to enable that to happen. So I don't think any of them are free yet, but it's one of those cases of watch this space, see what's going to happen out there. Yeah, but a lot of those use the APIs to connect to Oracle to pull the data out using those queries. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions before we close for today?
Oh, yeah, I've got a question.
Yeah.
It just relates to something I did yesterday. I think it's a simple thing. You know, when you go into this sandbox to change the appearance, yeah?
Yeah.
When I went in there, it didn't give me kind of the background. You know, like you've got different sections where you've got like the background, etc., where you can change the various things. But
yeah,
it only gave me kind of the log thing and the I think what do you call it, the cover thing, but it didn't give me the sections for the year. So
okay, let me try and see if I can just trying to understand it. Oh no, I didn't want to do that. It's logged me out.
oh dear.
Yeah, I'm too quick for it. I was it's fine. So you've gone into page and you said activate the sandbox, right?
Yeah.
And so what you do, you select, let's say, appearance, structure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. And then you create your sandbox, and you pull the data areas. So make sure it's not
publishable. Yeah. Okay.
Let me just
okay.
And create and enter. So that's basically what you do to enter it into that sandbox. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks very much.
And then you can go in here and go into the appearance. So I can go in here and edit global page template. Oh, okay, because I didn't, right, I've done exactly what I shouldn't have done. So let me go into appearance. And then you should then be able to get in and start to work on the appearance here. So if I change this to midnight blue, change the color, aquamarine, it's probably going to ask me to save it here. That's basically how to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
No problem. So any questions, anyone?
Yes. Hi, Ian.
Hi.
Okay, so I posted a question for you while I created my invoice.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen it. I wanted to create an account, and it's talking about intra-company not really set up. That I should update my intercompany journal,
Right.
something like that.
So your account code, I haven't looked at the questions, but let me go into so right, so that's okay. So these are the questions. Okay. Oh, okay. So right, it'd be nice if I can see the screenshot, but I think maybe, yeah. You probably,
Yeah, can you navigate me through this journal line rule setup for journal entry?
we're not even there yet, because we're going to be looking at subledger accounting on Friday. So we're going
Okay,
through.
so why is it taking me here? Is it because you know, I checked what's it now, intercompany at my ledger?
At your ledger level, yeah.
Yes. So am I not supposed to check that?
Not at the moment, because we're not using that. Yeah, yes.
Oh, okay.
Fine. Yeah.
Oh,
Your journal, it's possible that your journal is not balanced by BSV.
yes.
Yeah, so that's probably why. Yeah.
Oh, that's why. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because from the assignment you have to pick different I think, is it cost center now or company?
It must be cost center. Yeah.
Cost center, yes. Different cost center, yes.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so I'll just disable, but if I disable it now, I can enable it again.
You
right?
can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
No problem. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was another one here. Okay, that's okay. Right. Any other questions before we close for today?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, just to say that I resolved my query.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah, resolve my query. Yeah, so thanks. Yeah.
Okay, no problem. Okay, good. So thank you, everyone. See you all tomorrow, same time, same place, and see you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.